Welcome to Book to Blueprint, where powerful books become practical blueprints for real life. You do not need more information, you need execution. This is Book to Blueprint. What if I told you there's a simple blueprint that could totally transform every single negotiation you have? I'm talking about everything from a multi-million-dollar deal to just figuring out where to go for dinner. Look, this isn't just another book summary. Today, we are unlocking the Getting to Yes blueprint. This is your practical guide to turning confrontation into collaboration. All right, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to define our North Star, what a wise agreement actually is. Then we'll dive straight into the big idea, principled negotiation, and break down the 4 principles that make it work. After that, I'll give you a step-by-step game plan you can actually use. And to wrap it up, we'll look at the habits that separate the pros from the amateurs and the common traps you absolutely have to avoid. Ready? Let's jump in. Okay, first things first. Before you even start, what are you trying to do? What's the real goal of a negotiation? Now, if your first thought was to win, I'm going to ask you to pause right there because you're already on the wrong track. In this system, the goal is always something much bigger, much smarter, something called a wise agreement. So what exactly is a wise agreement? Well, I want you to think of it like building a bridge, not winning the battle. It's a solution that's designed to be sturdy, to be fair, and most importantly, to last. It's got to meet the real needs of everyone involved, solve the actual conflict, based on principles, not just muscle, and it should hold up over time. It's about strengthening the relationship, not just winning the point. And that right there, that idea of a wise agreement, brings us to the engine of this whole blueprint, principled negotiation. This is the big mental shift you have to make. You have to stop seeing negotiation as a tug of war where one person wins and the other loses. Instead, you start seeing it as 2 people sitting on the same side of the table, looking at a puzzle and trying to solve it together. Okay, take a look at this. This slide really breaks down the 2 different worlds you can live in when you negotiate. Over on the left, you've got that old school positional bargaining. You know what this feels like. It's that messy, stressful fight where everyone's an adversary. But look at the right, principled negotiation. The words are totally different. Problem solvers, wise outcome, separating people from the problem. It's a complete game changer, moving from a fight to a shared mission. So how do you actually install this new way of thinking? Well, it all runs on a pretty simple operating system made up of 4 foundational principles. I want you to think of these as the core code, the unbreakable rules that will guide every move you make. All right, here they are, the big 4. Number 1, separate the people from the problem. This one is huge. It means you can be soft on the people, but you stay hard on the problem. Number 2, focus on interests, not positions. Don't just argue about what people want, dig deeper and ask why they want it. Number 3, invent options for mutual gain. This is the creative part. Brainstorm ways to make the pie bigger before you even think about slicing it up. And finally, number 4, insist on using objective criteria. Base the outcome on fairness and facts, not just who can push harder. Okay, so we've got the core principles down. But how do you actually use them? That's where the playbook comes in. This is your step-by-step game plan because a great negotiation doesn't just happen at the table. It's a 3-stage process that starts long before you ever sit down to talk. So look, this whole game plan breaks down into 3 clear phases. First is analysis. This is your homework. You diagnose the situation, you gather all the information you can, and you really think through everyone's interests. Second is planning. This is where you generate ideas and map out your strategy. And only then, after all that prep, you get to phase 3, discussion. Seriously, a great negotiation is 90% preparation. Okay, while you're doing all that prep work, you are going to develop what is, without a doubt, your single most powerful tool, and that is your BATNA, your best alternative to a negotiated agreement. This is not your bottom line. This is your escape plan. It's what you will do if you walk away. Knowing your BATNA gives you the confidence and the real power to negotiate effectively. And you know what? Figuring out your BATNA is actually a pretty straightforward 3-step process. First, just invent a list of things you could do if you don't reach a deal. Second, and this is key, improve the best ideas. Let's say you're negotiating a raise. Step 2 isn't just thinking, oh, I could get another job. No, it's actually updating your resume, talking to a recruiter, maybe even getting a preliminary offer. See? You're turning a fuzzy idea into a real solid plan. Then finally, you select the single best one. That's your BATNA. All right, look, knowing the blueprint, that's one thing, but actually living it, making it second nature, That's something else entirely. And that, my friends, is where habits come in. We're talking about the specific things you do over and over again that turn these principles from stuff you know into who you are. So, what do these habits look like in the real world? First, get into the habit of always asking why, not in an aggressive way, but out of genuine curiosity. Next, practice active listening. That means you pause and say, "So, what I think I'm hearing you say is," just to make sure you get it. When someone attacks you, practice reframing it. Turn an attack on you into an attack on the problem. Make brainstorming a totally separate activity from decision making. Invent first, decide way later. And always, always be open to reason and focus on the future you're building, not the arguments of the past. And finally, we have to talk about what can go wrong. Let's talk about the landmines, because to really master this stuff, you have to be super aware of the common traps that can completely blow up even the most well-intentioned negotiation. Okay, so these are the big ones. These are the critical mistakes you've got to sidestep. Don't get sucked into that tug of war over positions. Don't let your ego or your emotions drive the bus. Never, ever, ever neglect your BATNA. It's your safety net. Avoid getting tunnel vision on just one solution. There are always more options. Stop assuming the pie is a fixed size. Your job is to make it bigger for everyone. And most importantly, never yield to pressure. Ever. And this quote right here, this really gets to the heart of the whole thing. See, your real power doesn't come from being the loudest or the most stubborn person in the room. It comes from being the most reasonable. When you stand firm on a fair, objective principle, you anchor the entire conversation in fairness. And that is your greatest source of strength. So that's it. That's the blueprint. And it really brings you to a choice. Your very next negotiation. It could be about a big contract, or it could be about what's for dinner tonight. It doesn't matter. It's a chance to put this to work. The question is, are you going to fall back into the old habit of digging your heels in and fighting, or are you going to use these principles to build something better, something wise? The choice and the power to do it is all yours. If you have a book in mind that should be added to our list, comment below. If this blueprint helped you, subscribe, like, and build with us. More blueprints are coming. Stay intentional, stay consistent. We are doing this one book at a time. And remember, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So share this with them and grow together. Real progress becomes stronger when it is shared. Build your life one blueprint at a time. You do not attract what you want. You attract what you do.